here in Porte, Texas, at a First Amendment Auditors rally. There's somebody that was arrested for pedestrian roadway, and he was arrested for speaking out at city council. Do you live in this area? Trying to get some information from like locals, what they think about their police department. If the Google reviews resonate with what people say in person.
What are their Google reviews here? Did you look it
The
up?
police are basically pulling people over like hawks, which just comes to this municipal courthouse here. It's where they get their money.
Yeah.
It's based out of the city's annual budget. And you're right, you really have to generate so much revenue on the tickets. And they have a pretty high quota to meet each month, from what I've been reading on Google. That's why I was trying to ask the people here if that's true.
Money making machine.
Yeah. It's coercion.
But it's no different than a lot of other municipalities this size throughout Texas.
Yeah. No, and going from state to state, there's not really any consistencies on how they enforce the laws from different areas. Some places are worse than others. From what I've seen out of this is one of the worst. This guy's in city council.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't have a
He's on the city council.
How you doing?
How you doing, Thomas?
Cody, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You're in the city council, you
I
said?
am, yeah. So were you offended by what David said on up there?
So I was
Podium?
actually already kicked out of the meeting by then for not wearing a mask. So so that happens at the beginning of every meeting. I get kicked out, and then I watched the video after the fact. And I would say that one, from what I've read, it's protected free speech.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if I'm offended or not, right? It's protected free
exactly.
speech. Two, since I wasn't there, I spoke with the city manager the next day and asked for a video from the council meeting. And I said, when I watch this, am I going to see just complete belligerence and just F this and F that? Because I didn't know what the actual allegation was. And he said, no, that's not what you're going to see. And I said, okay, well, am I going to see, a small riot form whenever whatever he says is said? No, you're not going to see that. Like, am I going to see anything? Like, no, you're going to see, you might hear him say it. Some people have said it's hard to hear. And then he's going to go sit down, and the cops are going to escort him out. And okay, that's unacceptable, right? Like, it's a complete perversion of the law, even if it's not protected free speech. It's a perversion of that law.
Police was texting the mayor and saying, "Hey, tell me you're offended so I can arrest David."
And I haven't seen that text yet, so I asked for the chief's text
He was
messages.
texting
Yeah.
right when it happened.
Yeah. I have seen some text messages where he sent to the city manager a text that said, hey, did he just cuss? Which, if you have to ask that question,
Yeah.
right, then...
Yeah, it's not an immediate breach of the peace because
Right.
you're asking yourself,
Right.
what did he say?
Right.
At that point,
But then since then, I've done some research. Cohen versus California seems to make it really clear. And then all of the things that have been stacked on top of that, not just Cohen versus California. I don't have any of the other ones memorized, but there's been plenty of Supreme Court precedents that have stacked on top and on top. And it's clear. And I would suggest that I'm considerably more offended by our city and someone's constitutional rights than anything a citizen can come say at a city council meeting. Yeah. Right? I personally don't use that language, and that's just a personal conviction, right? But I have a right to, right? And that's what's important. And so I am perfectly fine with y'all feeling me. I'm nobody important. So, this isn't Thomas's show. I'm here just to support. So,
well, we appreciate you coming out and talking to us and telling us all that.
In your time in city council, how many people have been trespassed for speaking out?
as far as I know, this is the first time this has happened. But At the beginning of every city council meeting, the mayor reads what I say is an illegal statement where he says, you're not allowed to criticize individuals on the council, you're not allowed to, you have, exactly.
How are we supposed to redress our government?
What he allows you to do is show up and say, I'm disappointed in the council. What you can't come and say is, Mayor, I'm disappointed in your decision to do this. He would say that that's not protected. He literally reads a statement at the beginning of every council meeting and says that. And our city attorney is horrible. It's one of those situations where city attorney has been here for many years. His dad was a city attorney before him. It's just this, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. And sure, I'll let you do illegal stuff. And the city attorney will say stuff like, well, we'll do it until the court makes us stop. Like, that's never a legal justification, right? It's, but I've seen citizens come in and speak poorly, and the other council members, get him out of here and stuff like that, but no one formally arrested or trespassed.
Do you guys have written in your annual budget for the municipal court to generate revenue from tickets?
Written in as far as a line item for revenue that we're expecting, you're asking?
Right.
So that's a tricky question because historically, yes. I don't know if there's an expectation that revenue continues, right? And I would hope that there's not an expectation that every year we have to meet this number.
Okay.
But it's a tricky question because we do have revenue coming in, so to not have it in the budget would just be to ignore a fact, right? And but
because there was some Google reviews, a woman claims that the police here are on the citizens like hawks, generating revenue from tickets.
And it's, our police department isn't unique, and I'll say, I don't know how well this goes over with this audience. I think we have some good officers, right?
Okay.
We also have some bad officers, and we've seen some bad actions of bad officers recently. It is like that everywhere. And what's important is when the good officers have to call out the bad officers, or else they are no longer good officers.
And the good officers don't end up getting backup when they need it, so they just keep their mouth shut and turn a blind eye and let their officers get away with it.
And that's the problem with the system, right? And I wrote a Facebook post a couple days ago that said, I'm watching the Derek Chauvin trial, and I said, I hope all the bad officers are watching this, and I hope all the good officers that sit by and do nothing are also watching this because that trial's coming next, right? And in that case, there was an officer, I don't know which one it was, I think it was the third one down, who at one point checked for a pulse and said, I don't feel a pulse, and he let them override him on should they do something. At one point, that same officer said, should we roll him to his side so he doesn't have trouble breathing, and he was overruled. Well, he did the right things, the right thoughts, but he didn't actually say, no, we're going to roll him over. I don't care that you think we shouldn't. This is what we're trained to do. We need to protect him. So good officers have to have courage, right? They have to be willing to take the risk of stepping out and doing what's
You
right.
never heard Superman say, get back for Superman.
Sure, sure.
It's not a heroic sentence at all. It's a powerful sentence.
It is. And now what is the most annoying thing about that trial to me is they're blaming the crowd for Floyd's death. They haven't outright came out and said it yet, but over and over and over.
Sound like.
And talking about good officers and bad, the Texas Attorney General put out an opinion, I believe the date was December 7th of 2020, and in his opinion, he said that if an officer is doing something bad, and the officers around him do nothing about correcting that situation, they're just as guilty.
Sure, and they should be.
The Attorney General realizes that. For some reason, the police can't understand English.
Sure. And the problem is, the root problem is, they have a badge on their chest and a gun on their hip. That changes the dynamic, right? If I witness a cop doing something wrong, it is life or death for me to step in and try to stop them, right? Because I never win that. If one of the people in the crowd would have ran and tackled Officer Chauvin to get him off of Floyd, they would be in jail right now. Floyd would be in jail. He would be alive. But sure, probably be beaten up, and they would both be in jail, and it would be washed under the rug that no, they weren't doing anything wrong to him. Look, he's alive. He's fine. So doing the right thing, it's almost impossible as a citizen because of the badge and the gun, right? And everything, like escorting someone out of a city council meeting and arresting them because they said F the police. What people don't realize is what that statement is saying is we're willing to
Nice to meet you, man. I've been watching your videos for about 5 years.
Thank you. Yeah, that's probably when I started.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
When I first started doing this, I didn't even realize there was this many YouTubers.
Yeah.
It was like you, James Freeman, and Carolina Fort Worth was the only three I
Me,
knew.
David, High Desert, just a couple.
It's really grown a lot. You guys really set the way for a lot of people.
Yeah, now it's what you see here.
Yeah.
More and more people are getting in it.
Next time you're in Fort Worth, you should hit Carolina up.
Yeah, I do. Usually when I'm in the area, I go to Dallas frequently. So.
Yeah, I seen you were in Plano here recently.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, she posted a video about it, and I put on there. I was like, he'll get him the next time.
Yep, the next time.
They don't power wash the cells enough. A lot of these jail cells, they have urine, feces, blood, snot, and you get a lot of diseases like rashes.
They decided to put me there instead of that's what was holding instead of with the other prisoners, the other visitors. Is that they were asking me medical questions, and I said, I'm not going to answer your medical questions. And so the lady said, well, we'll put it in the holding cell.
And that guy's got an AR.
Change your mind, and that may be days.
until you decide to come to life, right? And it's a ridiculous situation, and unfortunately, so many citizens have no idea. They look at a situation like that and they say, "It's just people already know, right?" And it's a ridiculous thing. The Constitution is there to protect us. It's there for us to be able to stand on, and for us to choose if we want to waive our right or not, right?
I was in a basketball tournament yesterday, man. I'm pretty sore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where at?
In Fort Worth.
Oh,
I had a basketball tournament, did laundry, and came straight here.
Oh, wow. Oh, so you're not even from this area? I lived here for 10 years. And I lived down the road.
What's your opinion on the traffic enforcement here? Do you think it's over the top, or do you think it's about
Well, my
right?
experience has been
It is over the top. Because I asked the councilman about that, because there was people talking about that.
now mine's been several years ago. My one and only speeding ticket was here. Coming off the theater and speed traffic. And I refused to talk to a cop. He did this, but I said, you don't have to talk to me.
Are you a YouTuber?
No, I watch a lot. I recognize all these guys. Definitely David. I follow him.
Yeah, David. He's real wise. He knows his.
I recognize the guy with the long hair. Him. I've seen this long dreads. What channel he is.
78, 79 next week.
Patrick.
Now the councilman's the one that can reallocate funds from the police to people that need it.
Yeah.
Tell the police what they are because they use.
You know how much they make here?
Yes, probably.
I have no clue. They were talking.
Nice to meet you.
I've been catching word in Houston, where we just left. They're making around $100,000 a year on police, and there's 6,000 police. So what is that? 600 million? Yeah.
It does look like a lot for somebody that.
What's a lot to me is not the same as a lot to you, right?
And so, I'm fragile, and so I'm disabled. But they have to go ahead and grab my bad shoulder, twist my arm, shove on me, push me against the wall. So I asked to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I was in the basement.
Guy says, "Oh, let's check with the supervisor." 15 minutes later, he comes back and says,
I did.
"Well, you'll need to put on the orange clothes." I said,
After I got back to the
about another 45 minutes
I
to
left
an
back
hour.
upstairs. I was flipping out. I was like, hey man, why am I down here?
We need
Why the fuck am I
your
down here?
fingerprint and your photos.
And he's like, why are we down here? I'm trying to flip it out.
Now,
Like, I said, no, no, the hell.
so another half hour goes by, and they do nothing. And by this time, my wife,
I kept banging on
found out that I was in jail,
I kept kicking that
came and
guesses was the whole plan, right? Delay long enough until he's out.
I got a bomb for 3 hours.
So,
I could have been bonded out.
you know, it's.
Staying off in that basement. I could
I
have
asked
know
him
that.
one time
I could have been off sooner, dude. You know, that's how they treat all
to stay warm. You know,
It's not
when
within
he
the
asked the
system.
first
In
time
the system, apparently,
about
for a
doing the
while.
fingerprints and photos, and he said, "Well,
the
if you'll
cop
do
tried
it
to
right
charge him
now,
a felony evading.
I'll give you a blanket.
For
But
doing
if you
this.
don't,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to give you a blanket." So I said, "Wait a minute.
That's
so you're
it.
discriminating
Felony
against,
evading.
discriminating
That's what
against
he's
me
trying
because of
But they resisted to
convenience?"
arrest
I said,
I'm like, damn,
"When we get back from the
walking away 3 steps.
I need to go."
How do you have a felony evading when you don't have another charge?
That's what I was saying too. Like you can't. They said I was a suspicious person.
Gee, that's
Wow.
the Bill of
That's it.
Rights. They're not supposed
And he
to
said it's
do that.
illegal to
And
take
what most
things.
people don't understand, the Bill of Rights learn about our
They got action over here.
government may not know.
Yeah, that's a real messed up case you got, man.
That the government doesn't have. They can't come in here and
Yeah, there's something going on over here.
Hey, y'all want to come over here and check them out? Don't grab me with a good time. Hell no, man. Let's go have a good time, man.
So they just charge you with that, no other case?
Yep, that's it. Evading.
That ain't gonna uphold
I
in
know
court.
it's not gonna uphold. That's why he went to me from the magistrate judge. That's why he in court.
They just dropped the case right there.
No, PR one.
Gave you a PR bill.
I got court testimony.
Might as well stay down here, man. Guess they left.
Oh, never mind.
Looked like they were pulling over to try to harass somebody.
This is a private government state property.
But you're not on the sidewalks. That's what it is here.
Yeah, you're not on the side. You're not on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You know, you just want to get your ID. No, just not
Yeah.
here.
All right, we're gonna have to take you in.
Nothing going on back there, just a LaPorte police officer that figures the traffic law will apply to her. You didn't see how she turned around? Right here. Backed into that car, on fire.
What is that, a foul?
Yeah.
That's a foul? That's pretty cool, man. How much you get for that?
About 1,000.
That's what they're going for now. So like all they are. Oh, wow.
They're more than AR-15s.
Yeah. I use that gun a lot on Call of Duty.
Slot machine.
20 round mag.
I have a 30 round mag for it.
Is that a K-bar knife?
Still suffer a little bit from the jail. It's a big knife. You know, they like to rub the other. Yeah, well, it was still but they still got there and twisted my arm. I told them, this state,
You're a YouTuber too, man?
bad shoulder.
That's what's up. Where are you out of?
He said, where's the picture? I said, it's in my back pocket. He said, in your back pocket?
Alabama before?
No, you're not in charge. We are
There was
in
one
charge.
guy from Alabama. I think it's who's now Alabama.
Twist my shoulder.
Hard to tell if that's the rest of the because
Yeah, it's pretty good content. I ain't seen a whole lot of people from Mississippi or Alabama.
Yeah, me and John were throwing in the whole reservations.
What's the police harassment like on a scale of 1 to 10 in Alabama, Mississippi, and those areas?
We would be suspicious.
Yeah.
Silly string on.
So, yeah.
And I thought, whoa,
I worked in law enforcement for 43 years. I
there was some audio that came out. I think it was from Auburn, Alabama, where they were saying, telling officers, you must make this many contacts a month, or you'll be terminated.
Well, the way it goes, we'll have a good conversation here.
Yeah.
The way it goes is, just for example, I had a sergeant come to me back in the late 80s, because I started in 78, and he said, your activities are going to become a review soon. I said, what does that mean? I said, I do door checks on businesses, I spotlight the neighborhoods looking for prowlers and people going around that look suspicious. Of course, you know, suspicious ain't a crime.
Right.
Suspicion in our time was watch and observe and show a presence.
Yeah.
And if they were to take off running, then there was the thought there must be something wrong from the run. Didn't mean tackle them and beat them up, stop them and see what's going on. And of course, some people actually do know their rights, and they say, hey, I don't want to talk to you. Well, here's the deal, like in Texas. If you give a reasonable explanation, then you do what they call dispel the alarm. Once you dispel the alarm, there's no specific reason to ID you, and they can't do it unless you're lawfully arrested.
Right.
So Texas is one of the very, very best at protecting people's rights and their independence to walk up and down the streets, except where they threw them in jail for walking up and down the street with a flashlight, you know, sightseeing.
Yeah, it was down here actually. The way it seems like the whole place was had a sidewalk, except for one little patch, probably from here to that car, and it was under construction, so they literally could not go any further forward. Apparently, at that point is when they were arrested for pedestrian roadway.
Well, yeah. In other words,
it wasn't really in a roadway. It was on the. It was basically in a pile of mud.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. That's what they call an exigent circumstance. When a citizen has no other way to continue, and they know that it's safe to pass, then that comes into police bullying and overreach and all that stuff, because you know a citizen cannot go this way. And they get hung up on this thing. Are you from here? It doesn't matter where I'm
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we have a constitution in the state of Texas and a U.S. Constitution, and we're governed by both and protected by both. And it says the Constitution is actually a restraining order against the government.
That's a good point.
Yeah, in other words, if
It doesn't list our freedoms. It
Yeah.
lists the things they cannot do.
Right.
They cannot come into my house or your house without a warrant.
Exactly.
They can't take my cell phone and go into it without a warrant. Oh, they did that.
Yeah, they've done that.
My wrong there. They did that in Plano. Went into my phone, took it without a warrant. Oh, gee. I thought that was Riley versus California Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, ruling basis on the Constitution, saying that it's unconstitutional for them to do it. Don't do it. And here it is, 4 or 5 years later, they're doing it.
They need to bring the Bain Act from California to here, because what they're doing a lot now is they're taking the flashlights to blind people's cameras, which is really impeding on your First Amendment to be able to record.
That's prior restraint.
Yeah.
Because prior restraint is where the government is trying to censor what we're recording. They're restraining it prior to us putting it out.
Right.
So that's prior restraint. It is a violation of the Constitution. First Amendment, prior restraint, been ruled on by the Supreme Court.
What I wish I had is more knowledge of how to actually sue people for this, because I believe if people are able to start suing them for constitutional rights violations, that might bring a change, because once you start hitting them in the wallet, they're going to see it's a financial liability to keep going this route.
But see, every piece of paper you sign, you have to declare to be a U.S. citizen. Look up federal titles and code what a U.S. citizen is, and you won't find it. But to get a driver's license, Social security, anything else, you have to swear under penalty of perjury you're a U.S. citizen. Well, unless you live in Washington, D.C. or a military enclave or something, you're not. You're a state citizen of one of the 50 states.
Yeah.
You don't have constitutional standing. You know that? The states do, but you don't. Because you're not a party to the Constitution of the United States of America. The state is. The state's supposed to protect your interest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so people get these misnomers. So if a state violates your rights and it comes from the Constitution, then you go into federal court and you allege your state, which is a party to the Constitution, and they agreed to it, violated your rights, which they violated the restraining order. And then they did these other things under the auspices of we're a government agency and we're here to protect the public. Well, they use the public in a totality. They say we don't have no duty to protect any individual.
It's been ruled on 3 times that I know of by the Supreme Court that the police have no duty to protect and serve.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the
They
general,
don't.
it's the general public.
What do you guys think we should do about all the police harassment and the civil rights violations that have been going on? How do you think we can counter that?
I've got a plan. I had this plan when I was in Florida, the chief of police. But the chiefs of police and sheriff's association and other associations didn't like my plan. 2 years ago, when it said if a police officer was duly charged and duly convicted by a jury of his peers or a judge if he went jury, whatever the sentence was for the atypical citizen who doesn't know the law, and you have a man that went to an academy and learned the law, then he has to do double. So if anybody else gets a 2-year sentence, he gets a 4.
Right.
If we get a 5, he gets a 10 because he used the badge of his office or his knowledge that the government imparted to him. So he specifically
So like an automatic enhancement.
Yes.
Like say if it's a felony 3, it should be a felony 2.
Right.
And just bump the time up on them.
Sure. The other thing is, I suggested that there be a statewide board and people run for this board.
Okay.
And then be a paid position. So you got 6 or 8 or 10 people, and they would run in different districts throughout the state. So say maybe somebody in the Amarillo area, somebody in the El Paso area, somebody in South Texas. They can break it up into 6, 8, or 10 parts. And whoever wants to run, they run their NPA, no political affiliation. They're independent. So basically what they do is they run for office, they get elected to this state law enforcement review commission. Then the governor swears them in and appoints them, or the attorney general. They review public cases. So they come together like once a month for an actual meeting and hearings. So you send in your reports to them, they look at it, and they hire people like me, that's retired cops, that look at it, that they vet out. In other words, see, I've got a civil rights background, so I'm a perfect person to look.
Yeah.
I know exactly what to look for, and I know if the cop was legit or not. I look at the videos, I look at the police reports, I look at the statements, and I do a critical analysis, and I said, question mark, or this is definitely a review case. This definitely is not. And then I give a synopsis, 1 or 2 pages, why or why not. Did they violate policy? Policy is an internal issue. Did they violate a state law? So if they violate a policy, the department can keep them, fire them, discipline, or whatever. If the public brings to bear, like we don't like this, we want some discipline brought. But literally, there's places in Texas alone that the police union is so strong, where police used to say, we just enforce the law, we don't write it. Not true. The unions are now going to legislators, lobbying them and telling them this is what we want the law to say. So the police have their own special law.
That's right.
To get the laws to protect them. Not me, not you.
We need to do something about that.
Oh, yeah. So,
what do you think, if like you're saying, if they keep on going and trying to legislate laws that benefit them, where do you think the final resolution would be, where that would end.
Well, I work in a lot of think tanks.
Yeah.
I do a lot of advocacy, so and I've been building relationships with people in government and private sector for 43 years.
Yeah.
The best I can do.
So you're well polished.
Well, I get by. I've helped a lot of people get out of prison that were wrongly convicted.
That's great, man. That's good to hear.
Police officers disciplined for what they did wrong. Sometimes I reported this, done write-ups, and a city manager say, nah. So I can only do what I can do. I reported to the elected sheriff or elected constables what their guys was doing. I've talked to the colonel's office at DPS about things that troopers have done wrong. But I also report the good stuff. Okay? In other words, yeah, can I drug somebody out of a car fire? Yeah. To a video? No, but that was back in the old days. But you know, some people come and say, oh, you're a hero. This is what I get paid to do, to risk my life to protect your life. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you call me. See, the police have a theory. If you call, you're the victim.
Yeah, it seems that way, don't it?
and if 2 minutes later your call comes in because you couldn't get a signal, you go to jail because you didn't beat the other guy on the phone.
Yeah, especially with these domestic violence cases, it seems like women, they realize if they call and they say, oh, I was threatened or I was beaten, they take the guy automatically to jail, it seems like, in a lot of...
That's called a pretextual. Pretextual means it's set up for one thing when they say it's for another.
Right.
Put it this way.
It's pretextual, that's good.
It works either way, but it's predominantly females.
Yeah.
And this is statistical, it ain't an opinion. They call in, they're going through a divorce, or they're fixing to go through a divorce, or they're planning on it, and their husband doesn't know.
Did you subscribe to the new YouTuber Harris County Audits? No. Go to my community tab and click the link that's in there and subscribe to Harris County Audits.
Harris County
Audits. Harris. You gotta have somebody around here doing audits, man.
Yes. I mean, I probably have 5,000 subscriptions.
Really?
And I bet you're in there.
Oh, I'm in there. Well, just type in Omaha Compost in the search bar. Okay. And then you'll pop my channel up, click the channel, go to the community tab, and you just gotta go to the community tab. It's the first post I put.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you find on a daily basis, excuse me, in the community in which you live, what do you find is the most prominent thing that police do that the public says, we want to strangle them?
I think in Omaha, the Omaha police like to just ask for ID a lot, even when there's no probable cause to ask for ID. They try to go hands-on a lot too, and that's what they try to do most of the time. And they just lie and manipulate people, and they try to threaten you with jail time if you don't do this, and this, and this. And that's what they do a lot. If you don't
do you know what a pretextual traffic stop is?
We were just talking about that before you walked up.
I'm 43 years retired, chief of police twice, chief deputy constable